would you just start? Welcome to today's episode of the Australian Lawn and Garden Podcast. It's a really good one today. We've got Nadeem from Colin Campbell Chemicals. That is an Australian small business that's doing really great stuff with herbicides, fungicides, plant growth regulators, things like that. Technical, high-quality products for high-quality results. We talk about so many things, and the only thing that's bad about this podcast is it isn't long enough. We might have to get Nadeem on again in the future. Buckle down. We talk about some really cool stuff. If you're into lawn, this is going to be a good one for you. All right, welcome to today's podcast. We have Nadeem from Colin Campbell Chemicals. I'm excited about this one because this is a great Australian small business. Would you say small business, Nadeem?
Small, yes.
Small business, and they are supplying some really unique products to the Australian market to help out with turf care, also agricultural things as well. But I think it's going to be super helpful. And if you're someone who's like me, you like the technical side of lawn care, not just throwing on products and hoping for the best, I hope that we can give you some really good information to help you become a better technician. Nadeem, how are you going, mate?
Not bad, Luke. Yourself?
The first question I got to ask you, straight out of the bat, I'm going to try and pronounce your last name, and I want a rating out of 10. All right?
Yeah, go for it.
Because I'm sure I'm going to butcher it. Is it Zreikat?
Very close. Very close. There is
How do
different pronunciations. There is different ways to pronounce it, but we pronounce it Zreikat.
Oh, where's it from? Where are you? Where's your family from? What's your family
Jordanian,
history?
Middle Eastern, Jordanian. So
Jordanian.
Jordan, as I say, is like the Switzerland of the Middle East. So very peaceful, very stable country. So right in the middle was I got borders on Iraq, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Lebanon. So it's a small little country. Been there, beautiful country. Claim to fame, if people don't know, if they remember Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, the last scene where they find the Holy Grail, that entrance, that's Petra, and that's in Jordan. And it's also got the Dead Sea as well. That's the other big tourist attraction.
I've watched some, I love documentaries on things like that. And I have seen a documentary on Petra. That is a fascinating place. Yeah. How did you get to Australia?
Yeah, so I was born in Australia, born and bred, me and my brother. It was my parents. So going back, my father was working in actually, I think, Lebanon at the time. And then his brother came out to Australia, migrated out to Australia. And he goes to my dad, going, come out to Australia. He goes, why? He goes, come out to Australia. You love it. Comes out to Australia, goes, I love Australia. Goes back home, marries my mum, comes back to Australia. And that's sort of the short version. And there was a few friends as well. That time Australia was getting a lot more migration in. If some of the older people have been to school and sort of learned some of the history we had in Australia, the White Australia policy, which was abolished back in the 70s, and then that opened up a lot of migration. That's why we have a huge multicultural, huge multicultural people within Australia and different backgrounds and the likes like that. So it came out in the 70s.
So where did the garden lawn interest come from? Was that a family thing or is that an Nadeem thing?
No, that's definitely a family thing. So when Dad came out, he was an accountant by trade, but his qualifications weren't recognised in Australia. So he started going to TAFE at night and getting his qualifications. Then he started working for a couple of accounting firms and the likes, and then he was working at the time for an accounting firm that was consulting to a company to look to buy Colin Campbell Chemicals. And what ended up happening going back then. So this was like, this was back in would have been the very sort of late 70s or so, mid to late 70s. Yeah, so 77, 78. And then at the time they needed an accountant. So he sort of jumped ship, started working for Colin Campbell Chemicals, became general manager, director of sales and the likes like that, and worked with the two brothers, Colin and Neil. So we can go Colin and Neil, who owned the company back then, who got it from their father. So then what happened was that he was working there. Colin and Neil were brothers and fight like brothers do. It's like I work with my brother here and we do fight, but difference is like going, it's those arguments that you don't, little arguments, nothing major. But these brothers were fighting a bit too much in that way. One would want a brand new car, the other one would want a brand new car. One would want to fly business class, the other one would want to fly first class. And like, so they racked up a lot of debt within the company. The company was doing really well, not financially, but sales wise. There was a lot of potential there. So what happened was, and we were selling direct at that time. Now we just sell through distribution. But back then in Sydney, we had a sales force of about, I think there was about 10 or 12 sales reps on the road. But they were all there. So what happened was Dad said, "No, look, you guys go, Colin, Neil, we're going to buy you out. And you leave the company and leave it to us." So Dad and a few others within the management group bought the owners out, had about 800 grand worth of debt. So it doesn't sound like a lot because a lot of home loans these days are that much. But going back then, you're looking at about 2-3 million in terms these days. The debt it was. So got the money to buy it out, took over it, got rid of the direct selling, got rid of all the sales force, put on distribution, and started to build the company up from there. So then obviously my brother finished university. He got into the company it was 97. He started full-time. I came full-time on in 2000 and started looking after the turf side and just sort of gone from there. But no, I haven't had any formal qualifications in greenkeeping or science or anything. So I've never shied away from that. When I first started, I was like, look, I can't help people from the day-to-day point of view. I did what you guys do. You guys are the experts. I don't know that side. However, where I can help you is the knowledge that I'm learning about the chemicals, because you don't tend to learn that in the TAFE side for your greenkeeping course or any university course. There's science degrees, obviously, but you don't tend to learn about what we do at university. Like I did go to university. I did economics and marketing. So yeah, very, very different.
I think a lot of people in the garden industry, like, I think, I mean, don't get me wrong, if you've got a degree, it's very helpful. But the problem with a lot of the degrees that are around is because the garden industry is so diverse, right? Like like we talk about what we do mostly residential lawn care. That's completely different to any sports turf, right? Because you're not creating a playing surface. It just needs to look good. And then that's completely different to a turf farm. I mean, you're talking about you're dealing with lawn and it's not even the same. And then you go into rose pruning and you got hedge trimming and reticulation and landscaping. And so what happens is a lot of these courses, I mean, this is what you're getting at, isn't it? Like they have to cover a vast amount of content to be applicable. And then you end up niching yourself into a narrow little lane and becoming, I'm the herbicide sort of fungicide product development sort of thing. And, we can talk about your role a little bit later, but a lot of people do that. And you find that there's guys with 25 years experience in residential turf care. They got no degrees and they know so much great stuff about it. And it's completely different techniques to the guys with 25 years of, putting green surface. It's just, I think there's a lot of really smart people in this industry, and the degree or not degree is almost irrelevant.
Yeah, very much true. It's the passion. It's like one of the things. It's like I know you spoke to Ben Sims about the shortage of staff and the likes like that, and one of the things is like you can't teach passion. If they have the passion for the industry, just everything else can come after that. But if they've got the passion, that just goes so much. And it's one of those things I've spoken to a lot of turf managers they'll hire on their attitude and that side of things rather than going, this guy looks like he's fully qualified. Because it has been where wages have gone up with everything else. But right now, like greenkeepers are getting paid better. They're still not being paid great by any means. They're getting paid better. But there are some that probably are getting overinflated in a way. You go back 5 years or so they wouldn't have been able to get that wage just because with inflation and everything like that. But then there's other guys who aren't qualified who are just so passionate about the industry and they do work well and very hard workers. The only thing they do that formal qualification to go up the ladder in a way, especially when, getting to some, when you look at a lot of job ads, they do want you to have a greenkeeping or horticulture certificate 3 diploma. There is that requirement at times, but if you can have some passionate people in your workplace they can do the job of 2-3 people easy.
Yeah, and how do you see this in the industry? Because for those who haven't watched the episode with Ben, one of the problems that we've had in this industry for a long time is basically people staying in the industry. I remember, and this is why I started my business. So this is a story of how I started the business. I did a lot of gardening as a teenager. So about 15 was when I started getting paid to be a gardener. And it was just, I had a very wealthy neighbor who very, very, he's like one of those people that you wish all the wealthy people were like. He had a successful catering business, and we had a hectare. He bought every property that surrounded us and gave it to his kids.
Nice.
And so then it was like, oh, there's this 15-year-old who likes gardening. We'll pay him to do our gardening. So that's how I started in the industry. And then when I was 18, I started working at a a high school, a public high school. And within 9 months, without any qualifications, I was the head groundskeeper there on a temporary role, filling in for an injury. And I hit my ceiling at $23 an hour because it was a public school. And the public school was, they had to abide by the same rules as every other public school. And I was looking at my future going, I like this sort of work, but I can't live off this. And I could have earned, I think it was 24 something as I got older, because I was still sort of 18, 19 in that stage. And I was like, maybe 20 years anyways, I can't remember what it was back then. But I had to start my business so that I could charge enough money to make a livable wage and stay within the industry. And this is a problem that I see I've had so many conversations and people that we've hired and all that sort of stuff over the year working in golf, or they're working in nurseries, or they're working in whatever it is. It's really common, but it sounds like you're saying maybe in your area, do you see it changing a little bit, that people actually can have a career where maybe they can send their kids to a pretty good school and live in an okay area? Is that something that's changing?
Yeah, I hope so. Exactly what your story is, of what I hear all the time. The wage, the money in the industry is a big concern, but it's not everything. I've said to a lot of people, I said, yeah, definitely the wage is a concern. It needs to be lifted because of what the work that you do, the responsibility that you do. It's like going, there'll be people, I dare say there's clients of yours that get home and going, oh, they've got an issue. They're calling you at 7, 8 o'clock at night. Are their bosses calling them at 7, 8 o'clock at night, or their clients? Not really. They're calling you. It's like, oh, hey, wait a minute, I've got an issue here. Or, hey, did you do this for the maintenance side of things? So, the turf managers from that side get calls, not 24 hours a day, but they get calls nearly all day, 7 days a week. And if something goes wrong, they don't get to have Christmas off a lot of the times, or if they do have Christmas off, they're still going in there, because the thing is going, if like the greens die, who's responsible? The superintendent. Simple as that. So the wages do definitely have to increase, but also we have to start attracting people to the industry. I've said to a lot of people, and I truly believe this, that we're so good at talking internally about how good we are, how much we love the industry, the passion. We just don't communicate it well enough. And you look at sport in general. You start from grassroots footy with all the kids playing on it. Then you get up to the stadiums going, there's not the recognition the curators get for the grand final, for the AFL grand final, the NRL grand final, the Union, State of Origin, the cricket. There's not enough of that. It's, one of the things, Magic Round was on in the NRL last week, and it's like going, it had that much wear and tear on it that I felt sorry for the curator there, because there's a lot, but it held up well. The surface did hold up well, but people don't know the story behind about what was going in before that. The amount of training, concerts, all of that side of things plays a crucial role. But it's so easy to be that, that keyboard warrior or armchair warrior and just complain and go 100%. And like, But I do believe, we do need to attract more people to the industry, because it is a great industry. I remember first starting, a lot of guys, older guys, said to me going, the hours attracted them, start early, finish early, and then they could go surfing in the afternoon. And that's still the case for a lot of guys. They do start early, finish early. You go surfing in the afternoon if you love it. It's a great industry for that. But it's working outdoors. That's the other side of it.
I think, there's obviously the attractive side to it, which is why we're all listening to this, because we love this industry and we want to learn and stuff. It's just so challenging. And one of the things when you move slightly out of the turf care, which is your scene, that's really the stadiums and golf courses and things like that. In the contractor scene, the problem is that because the hourly rate is so low, but it has to be low because you have to be able to attract people, or you have to give a fair wage to people who just sit on a lawnmower and shovel some mulch, and they're not really motivated. They don't really care about making things beautiful. They just want a simple, easily accessible role. But then the people who do solve problems fall under the same category. And what happens is you're going out for tender. Let's say there's a government contract to mow. It's $1 million a year. Well, what's your biggest expense? It's wages, And so you can buy really efficient equipment, but everybody can buy the same equipment. Everyone can buy the same mowers. And so there's this pressure to bring down the wages, because that's the biggest negotiating tool financially that people have. And it's so hard, running a business. Now, we only do smaller work, which is how we've overcome some of this. Some people who've had work for us, they deserve more wages than what we can afford to pay them. But at least there's a bit of flexibility in the residential scene, because you're talking about $100 job, not $1 million job. An extra 10% is $10. It doesn't kill somebody, but it is really difficult. And I really feel, now I would love to, over time, see these problems change and get better. I wasn't expecting to talk about this, but I've got a thing. We were talking about ChatGPT before we came on. We're having a bit of a laugh about it. One of the things that I think is counterintuitive, I'd like to get your opinion on this. I think robot lawnmowers are actually going to do a really good job at saving great jobs in this industry, not taking great jobs in this industry. I don't know what the conversations are. I'll tell you my example, or my thinking first, but I don't know. Are there conversations happening in the golf industry? Because here's my thinking on this. A lot of people, like the contractors, they're limited because the government's only going to pay so much as their competition. A lot of the golf courses are limited by the number of members they have, and they would love to pay their supers more. They just can't do that, I wonder if you save, it could be two sides. You could just get greedy capitalism where, and I'm a capitalist, so nothing wrong with capitalism, but you chuck down a robot lawnmower and the money saved is now profit. Or you could say, we can use this now to extend some people's careers. So some people who in their mid-50s were feeling like it's a bit too physical for them, we've taken some work off your back. Now you can spend more time identifying and solving problems. We've saved some money on wages there. And so our staff shortages that a lot of people are struggling with this industry are being filled by robots. Maybe that allows for better wages. At least maybe I'm optimistic. Do people talk about this in the golf course turf management? Because that's not my world. That's your world.
Yeah. So this is interesting. So I've done quick segue. I go, for people who know me, I've got a podcast called Behind the Turf. I don't want to plug anything too much, but there's a person
you can plug away. I listen to the podcast.
So Pat Jones. So Pat Jones is a good friend of mine. I've known for a number of years in the US conference. So I go to the US conference. It used to be called the Golf Industry Show. Now it's called the Golf Course Superintendents Association of America Golf Show.
How many syllables is that?
GCSAA. I still call it GIS. And the like. So it's the biggest show for golf. And it encompasses everything with turf management. It's 4 days long. They have first couple of days are all university lectures, and then they have the trade show on Wednesday and Thursday. So I go over there to learn, what's the future, what's coming, and learn from experts. Like, we have good experts here in Australia, but it's like anything. It's like, we're 25 million people. They've got 330 million. So the expertise and the trials that they do and all of that side, it's just groundbreaking. So I go over there a lot. I've got those relationships. So I interviewed Pat Jones. He used to run a couple of magazines, used to be on the board of the GCSAA, and we were talking about automation. And I'm all for it. It's like I envisage, I don't see it taking over everyone's job, what some people are scared of. I don't think that'll be possible. But where it's going to be helpful is like going that I need another 2-3 staff members to maintain this contract. Going, we don't have the staff to be able to do it. You get the autonomous mowers in, the robotic mowers in, boom, you do that. It's very easy. There's Husqvarna do quite advanced in the US with it, and I've got a friend of mine. He runs Greenside Agronomics there, and pretty much they set these mowers up for broad acre mowing, like realistically on roughs on golf courses.
Yes.
Put them on, plug it in, GPS map it, do all that thing, turn them on, and that's what they do. So you don't, and they do it day in, day out, every day. And the great thing, and they're not selling the mowers; they're only rotary mowers. They're only small little rotary mowers they cut, but they're cutting every day, so you're not cutting much off. And a mate of mine who works for Acquaid over there says, yeah, I've got one for my front lawn. I just put it out in the growing season and just goes down and cuts every day. It's only cutting off like a millimeter each day, and he gets in a nice quality there. So, for that point of view, definitely. When they first came out, they had this thing called the RG3 or something, and its claim to fame was the guy can rake bunkers while the autonomous mower cuts the green. It's like it wasn't a great marketing ploy because the cutting the greens is a fine art with the cylinder mower and the lights like that to get it right. So, but where they really come in is where they're doing large areas or areas that are hard to get into the roughs and take a lot of time. So definitely, I see the autonomous side being another tool to use for turf managers, for contractors and the likes, but not to take out the knowledge and the likes. And where I look at it going, well, that covers your extra 2 to 3 staff. Then you can pay your good staff, the ones you want, the qualified guys or the passionate guys, higher wage, and then they stay in the industry and they want to be in the industry. So you're going to get that benefit as well. So you have more. Say at the top, you have a lot more smarter guys up the top rather than just down the bottom where it's like going. You might get someone to come in going, oh, yep, they just want a job to sit on a mower, but they're actually, they're not very good at it. That's where I see it doing. But definitely 100%. I think it's definitely worth looking at if you are a contractor out there and looking at it, but keep that human element in there, because the other side is like, you got to look at going, well, if you've got a contract to maintain some residential lawns, going, why are those people using you? And if they've been using you for a long time, obviously you're doing a good job. But the other side is they like you, they like dealing with you. They could get someone in and someone else could be cheaper, but realistically, are they going to do that for what, for everything else that they do? Going, they trust you. They know, like there's a contractor sprayer that I deal with here, and he's got a lot of top profile sort of, not celebrity, but sort of influential people within Sydney. He just sprays their lawns. That's his job. But he has his price, never negotiates, and he just goes out and does it. And they just have to trust him. And I said to him, mate, if you don't, you can do it. You can do whatever you want. You could probably charge them double if you wanted to. They wouldn't care because they trust you. But he goes, oh, I'm not like that. So no, I know you're not like that. But you're doing what they asked you, and you do it well. And they're not going to go anywhere else. Because in the scheme of things, as you said, when you grew up, you had the wealthy guy next to you going, he's paying you X amount of dollars. For him to go out and find someone else going, it's cost him money. So what's the point? So stick with the people you trust. And that's where it's like the guys listening to this going, I've heard the term, people buy off people. And it is so true. Yes. We're a small company going, I know people buy off people because of the staff that we have, because of who we are, not because of what we have at times.
Hey everyone, look, I've got some really cool news going on. If you guys didn't know this podcast has actually been doing really well. And I just want to thank you guys for all the support that we've had, everything that's been shared and everyone who's liked and all that sort of stuff. We actually had it on the Spotify charts not too long ago. Even though it's a small crowd that's listening to this, comparatively speaking, they ranked us 3rd on the list for Spotify podcasts in the leisure category. Not even home and garden category, the whole leisure category. That was so cool to see. It must be that we're getting a lot of reviews and people are listening all the way through. That's been really cool. We've also got some stuff going in the background with some potential sponsors, some really cool brands that I think are going to be great for the people listening to this podcast. Properly helpful stuff, not just spammy, useless things to be a bit of a money grab. But I would like to say, if you are somebody who would like to sponsor the podcast, or you know someone who would be interested in sponsoring the podcast, pass on some details, because we're having those conversations now. We want to keep this going long term, and we need money to make that happen. And so look, if you're a business that wants to get involved, shoot me a message on Messenger or on Instagram, and we can have a good chat. Right, and we're back now. Nadeem, Colin Campbell's, I was on the website. I've known about you guys for a while. You don't say Colin Campbell Chemicals every time you talk about the business, surely? Is there a shorthand for it?
Yeah, Campbell Chemicals. Because there is a Campbell Chemicals, because there is a company called Campbell Fertilizers. So one of the things I will say this goes, because Campbell Fertilizers is a fertilizer brand in agriculture. It's owned by the company E.E. Muir and Sons, which are all over Australia, but they are in Western Australia as well. So they own Campbell Fertilizers. But it's amazing how many calls we get going, hey, have you got Rustica Plus? Can we grab some off you? It's like, hey, so it's not for us. It's not us. You want Campbell Fertilizers. We're Campbell Chemicals. Where are you located? You got a Muir store? Yeah, we got Muir's. Yeah, give them a call. They'll be able to help.
Yeah. I would just say, yes, we can. We need a 5% deposit now. And I'll give you the guy's phone number to call. All right. No, I wouldn't do that. Now, I was on the website. I've been going through some stuff. We're going to talk about some of the really cool products that you guys do in a minute, because there are some really unique things that you don't get, or certainly not getting at Bunnings, that's for sure.
Yes.
But if you're someone who is a contractor, or you're like me and you're working, like if you're working at a school doing groundskeeping or something like that, there's not a lot of, you might get some pretty basic training, right? And, you might, like we talked about before, you might have a cert in the industry, but going on some of these places, just look at their products and have a look at some of the things that they do. You can click on, like under our products, they'll have, home and gardens and turf and landscape and stuff. So there's too much for us to talk about in one podcast, but this business has been around since 1940.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yes, we celebrated 80 years in 2020 during COVID. So 80, we were going to have a big celebration in 2020 and then COVID hit.
Yeah, and you'll have to just look at each other from a distance.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. So the company has been around for 80 years. So as I was saying before, there was Colin and Neil, but you go back to 1940, it was started up by Colin Campbell Sr. It was started as a printing chemical business. So it wasn't in agriculture or anything like that. Then it started to get in more agriculture and horticulture space. And with the two sons coming on board, that was where it was really expanded, the horticulture space. And mainly when I talk horticulture was sort of apples and pears at the time. And then Neil Campbell started the sort of more the turf side of things, because he enjoyed golf. He was actually a member at Kalara and on the board of Kalara Golf Club, which is a private club here in Sydney. So, and he was well known. One of the things is people always thought they knew Colin, but it was actually more Neil that they knew, because Colin didn't go out and see many people, but Neil did. He was a big face of the industry. People really knew who he was. So they started. They started expanding, and just horticulture and turf. That's what they did. And then until my father got involved, as I said later on in the late 70s, early 80s, then we took over control in 1985, and then got started distribution, selling through distribution rather than direct selling from there.
So this is a real Australian business, like a proper Australian business, and I like. I can hear in your voice and the way you're explaining it, you can see your body language. You're really proud of that, right? Like that's something that you're actually excited by. And obviously there's some, your brother's involved in it as well. Your dad was involved. Is your dad still around? Does he get involved if he is still around?
Unfortunately, he passed away back in nearly 5 years ago, back in 2018. So on that, but pretty much was working up until the day he passed. So he started to slow down. And the likes like that, but he was 83 years old, and passed away back in September 2018. It was.
Condolences for that. But I'm sure he's very proud of everything that the business has become.
Yeah.
What is the best part of the job, or the best part of being involved in a business like this?
The people. It is really the people. The people I meet. I am blessed enough to go around Australia. I get to meet so many different turf managers. I get to go overseas, as I said before, with the GIS conference, and just meeting those people and learning. It's like, I never had sort of that passion for turf or gardening or anything like that. I remember, growing up, and Dad would love the gardening, and I'd just stand there and just give him stuff to do. He was the gardener. I hated it. But in saying that, now it's like going, I love my lawn. I don't have the greatest lawn. But I do enjoy doing my lawn. It's small, but I do enjoy it. But it's the people that you meet and the passion and being able to help someone solve their issue. That's the other thing. Or it's like, I know someone who can help with that, and putting them in touch with the right people. That's what I really do enjoy that.
I think there's a lot of people who probably don't get enough recognition as well. Like this is one of the things about the internet. And all sorts of media throughout the ages is if you become the big business that does these really big dollars and has all the vanity numbers of employees and things like that. Like they get all the raps, but there are some fantastic small businesses that are actually doing some really cool things. I mean, you'd have a lot of contacts in the industry. Who do you look up to in the industry who's not getting enough recognition? Is there someone who comes to mind? Maybe a superintendent, maybe another small business that you think is doing a great job in the industry?
It's a hard one. There's a lot of unsung heroes there. There's a lot of like superintendents out in regional golf courses, regional turf facilities, one-man bands, 1 or 2 people, and what they can produce is amazing. That's the thing. Like, when you had Ben on, Ben lives up at Orange. I unfortunately don't go to Orange as much as I used to, but I go up there and see a lot of apple and cherry areas and grape area up there. But the golf course he was at, it only would have been 3 or 4 people, and that's a lot for over there. But I've seen one. I remember a couple of golf courses, 18 holes, 2 people, or 18 holes, one person, and what they can do, it's amazing. Yeah. And I go down to Tasmania quite a bit, and Tasmania is very much like that as well. It was funny. I remember there was a few years ago they had a conference and they were talking about how to manage a golf course with a low budget. The low budget was Launceston Golf Club, and I was talking to the superintendent at the time, and he goes, "He got me off a low budget." He goes, "Mate, I've got one of the best budgets in Tasmania." But it wasn't good. It still isn't. Everybody else they should be going. They should go 5K down the road and getting them to come in and talk about golf courses. The ones that only got a few thousand bucks, about $5,000 to $6,000 a year to maintain 9 holes.
That's crazy.
So
I've got some secondhand experience with this. Well, maybe fifth-hand experience, you might say. But one of the guys who used to work for us, our lead gardener for a while, was a man named Doug, and he was the superintendent out at a golf course in regional WA for about 4 years, I think, somewhere around there. And it's the same thing. And unfortunately, Doug's not with us anymore because he's got an injury and he's had to get out of the industry, which is a real shame. He was a great asset to the industry. But the stories I hear of him, and it's like you get these both things. It's not that many members, so that it's just numbers, right? And it's not that people don't trust you or anything. It's just a maths game. And then the pride that he had in being able to, he was telling me, I don't know how many times he told me this, but he was doing bent putting greens in WA at 2.7 mil in a country regional golf club. And he won an award for that. And he was so proud of that. And you don't appreciate that if that's not your world that you're in, because if you've never done golf greens, I've never maintained a golf green in my life. It's just like, I don't know what that means. And then you start talking to people and like, oh, that's great. And look, they're unsung heroes because how many people play every single day and they just expect the ball should roll good and you shouldn't have fungal diseases.
Yeah.
So
the Augusta syndrome, as it's commonly referred to as. It's like, Augusta National, you see, the Augusta come on and the likes like that. And I really like what Augusta can show you, what the industry can do. That's what it is. They have money and the technology that they've got behind it is unparalleled anywhere else. But they've got that. But it shows you what we can do. It's like with the AFL Grand Final, NRL Grand Final going, it's our big thing. But then it's like going that, yes, it's like there is so much there. But, there's a lot of people who don't have those resources and amazing what they can do. And then everyone expects that Augusta. Look, everyone expects you to have Optus Stadium, MCG, SCG, Suncorp, ground all the time. But sorry, it doesn't happen. Yep. It can't happen.
No, it doesn't. My lawn's so I've got Kikuyu at my place, and I am attempting I've made. Maybe I'll put some photos up on Instagram for people to have a look. But I've made a mini golf course in my 200 square meters of lawn, and I play with the plastic golf clubs you get from Big W, they're about this long, and so I've got rough, which is cut with a rotary, and my fairways, and this is all you golfing people. It's a fun joke, right? I'm not trying to actually say it's a real golf course. It's just good fun. I can have a laugh with Ben because I got a complete golf course before he did. He's only just done his thing.
Yes.
Get your ass together, Ben. But I've got a Kaikuyu. I'm cutting it at like 7.5 mil, which is pretty. That's pretty good for Kaikuyu. And we're going into winter. I'm pretty happy with that, right? And I'm cutting that. The green itself is like 4 meters by 4 meters, and I've got a 28-inch Momaster, which I've just got set to that height. So like every second day, I'm cutting that. And it's almost not enough. Like I need to cut it more. I don't want to use PGR. I'm too scared that I'll, put it properly to sleep over winter. Anyways, you dabble in that, and that's a lot of work in terms of it's a commitment. Every day or every second day, you got to cut this thing, and it's what 15 square meters, if that. You know what I mean? Like it's nothing. And
done.
Yeah, exactly. And I've had times where I've striped it up with the checkerboard stripes, and to get it to be decent and defined, it's like 6 passes or something like that.
Yeah.
You put these sorts of photos up on the Instagram page, and it's like you want to celebrate your success, but you also don't want to get the request from the clients going, "Can you do that at my house?" Here's a Hungry Jack's voucher.
Yeah, the answer is yes, but this is what we need to do to be able to do it.
Yes, it'll be 2 Hungry Jack's vouchers. Thank you very much. I want to talk about this. We've been talking about what you love about your business, which is the people. So we got some underrated people in the industry, and we're just starting to touch in one of my favorite subjects to talk about, which is the client's always right, but they're not. And there's all these times when you're running a small business, you get silly, silly people. And this is a great opportunity to vent and just talk about stuff. I was telling you before, we did a job. We did this. This is my story. I'm giving you an opportunity to think of a good story. When's a funny story that we can all relate to, where somebody's come to Campbell Chemicals going, "Here's my problem. They've done something stupid," and we can all have a laugh at them. Obviously, we don't want to know anyone's names or anything. But look, here's my story. We're dealing with this client, and we did a verti mowing job for them. And 4 months after the job, they gave us a bad review because their lawn hadn't recovered. We went to the job, the lawn had recovered, and they just hadn't had functioning retic. And they just wanted to blame somebody, and so they gave us a bad review. And I had a conversation with the bloke, and he admitted that it was his fault and still hasn't taken down the review a year and a half later. And so... but of course, the client's always right. Surely, Nadeem. And you would have never had anything like that in your life, would you?
No, not at all. The best ones, it's something similar as well. It's like going, say, your product failed. Okay, what did you do? Go through it. Okay, you did everything right, and you start scratching your head. Why did it fail? You did everything you should have done right. You did even more, but it failed, and then you sort of something clicks in. And you sort of go, wait a minute, how much of the bottle do you have left?
Oh yeah.
It's like I only use like a little, like this much of it. That's like you use like that. That's on the hectare rate, so to speak. That's the 100 square meter rate. Or it's killed the whole stuff, and they've done 10 times.
Yes,
read the label, and that tends to happen a lot. A lot. Misread the label, or they don't read the label. That's the other side of it. But it's like, sometimes we say, you need to water this in. Did you water it in? No. Well, why not? I thought I didn't have to. Well, it says on the label, water it in. If you're not sure, ask.
Yeah, but reading the label, that's too much work, Nadeem. We're going to we're going to put in 5 hours to apply it, but the 45 seconds it takes to read it is too much work.
Yeah, exactly. And I will say this, some labels, it's got multiple uses on it. I will say always go, if you want turf, lawns, it's always towards the back. Never at the front, it's always at the back. So you might see almonds, apples, cherries, grapes, wheat. Turf is always towards the back. So look at it from that point of view.
I saw this post the other day on the internet, which somebody should definitely have not put on the internet. And it was on a like a residential lawn contractors page on Facebook, and this person has sprayed Barricade on their client's lawn. And it's essentially just the colouring in for grown-ups with yellow spray paint is what it looked like. And I have no idea what the application rate is. I've had it before where I've been mixing Barricade for garden beds, right?
Yep.
And I've got a hand pump. And so I filled it up with maybe a quarter of the water I needed to put the Barricade in. And then I've knocked the pump handle. So I've sucked in some of that product and I'm applying it into the garden bed. And so that would, and garden bed rates is super high compared to turf rates. So this is probably 5 times what your application rate is. And I knew I did that. So I had a tiny bit in the pipe and it was that yellow because I know what it's like when it's coming out that yellow. And I'm like, what the heck has this guy done? And that's going to last. It says on label 6 months, but at that application rate, I don't know.
The question is, was it in Barricade? Because there's another pre-emergent, but it's not, I don't think it's not registered for use on garden beds. It's not really used so much. The old pendimethalin, that was really yellow. Stomp and Rifle are the sort of the common names, and that just stains, and that's really badly stains. Worst, like Barricade's, awesome, but this one just stains. So I wonder if it was mixed up.
I don't think I've ever had stains from Barricade because I have had it on the concrete, like when you spray this with the lawn or whatever, you just hose it straight off. The spray does get yellow if you leave it in there for a while. No, I think he wrote that it was Spartan, the the new one that comes out. But look, it's funny, you see that stuff on the internet. Have you ever had a time where someone's come to you and you've given them advice against something they were going to do? They're like, oh, look, I'm going to do this. Oh, look, really, you should do something else. Like, no. And then they come back with their tail between their legs.
There's been so many times like, I wouldn't do it that way, and this is the reason why, and the likes like that. And they'll just go out and do it. Whether you hear back from them, sometimes you don't, but it's like going, oh, it didn't work, or it's like, my turn's dead. It's like, I told you not to do it. I told you to watch out for the weather. It was going to get too hot. Don't go out and spray. Oh, but it's the only day I've got to spray. Okay, but
what was the point? Yeah. Do you think one of the things about being a bit cheeky here, like, because you're obviously selling fungicides and herbicides and insecticides, and is there any other sides that I'm forgetting that you sell?
We do have a plant growth regulator. We do have a surfactant. We can get into the nitty gritty, a sticker, so to speak, more so should I say. We do have that in the turf side. We have some spray indicators as well, and a pigment.
And a pigment. So my mate, I'll just call it my mate, who's colouring in the lawns with the Barricade.
Yep.
I mean, there's one side of Nadeem, if that was your product, that he would be going, you'd be going, why'd you do that? But the other side would be like, well, you're going to buy it off me again more frequently now, aren't you, if you're over applying the whole time? Do you ever get that a little bit where you're like, oh, it's stupid, but look, it's a bit of cash money.
But it's like, you sort of got to use it a bit more going. You want to use more, you want to spend more, go for it. But if you're going over label rates, then you're asking for trouble there. But one thing is when we do register products, we do definitely see what happens when you do double label rates. We do have a phytotoxicity rate that we do see. And then because we do get those calls as well going, I put on like 2 or 3 times the rate. What should I expect? What product was it? And then, usually if it's insecticide's not too bad, or fungicide, but herbicide, you start to go 2-3 times rates. You're going to run into trouble there. What's
the worst one, do you reckon, to go over on?
Any broadleaf herbicide. You get any broadleaf herbicide will just burn. And it'll act like Roundup. It'll just kill everything and be brown for ages, and it'll take ages to recover. So you've got to be careful, especially one of the things with broadleaf herbicides, like you got your Canberra M, anything sort of Baroxanol, MCPA, Canberra M, Broadside, Fairway, those type of products, and even our stature that we've got going. That if it becomes too hot, if they go double rate, a lot of times you're going to burn. Or if it comes out hot weather, they're going to burn. So you've really got to watch out for that.
What about with nozzles as well? Because I know some droplet sizes don't suit well with others. I'm going to try and find a mistake that I made, and we'll put this all over the internet. I've already put it all over the internet, but I've once applied. I'll tell you the full story when I find the photo. But is there a problem with, like, you're using a cone nozzle instead of a fan nozzle or things like that? Is that common that people do that?
Yeah. So the different, like, one of the things it's like going that when it's whether you use a cone nozzle or fan nozzle, obviously the fan's going to be a lot better and you get much better coverage. But if you've only got a cone nozzle, just use it. It'll work. It's the coverage on, like when you're spraying herbicide, it's like people go, oh, it should be 4 liters per 100 square meters. But I was doing some trials with some winter grass, and we were doing it was in a boom sprayer situation. We used 4 liter rate and per 100 square meters, so 400 liters a hectare, and we used 8 or 9 liters per 100 square meters, 900 liters a hectare on a fairway height. So it was cut about 12 mil couch. And we put in our spray indicator when we put it on. The coverage with the 9 liter, people go, 9 liters is way too much. It's not too much. Because you're cutting so much higher in fairways, home lawns, and the likes, it's not that much. But you want good coverage on the weed. That's what it comes down to. So the nozzles can influence that. But if you've just got a cone nozzle, just make sure you get good coverage on the weed. You don't want to soak it. Like, when one of the things we were talking about before about mistakes, when you're spot treating, it's like spot treating is like, I think I've got to kill it a bit more.
Yeah.
It's not that. It's, quick pass over. That's what it is. You're going to try to simulate what you're trying to do with the boom spray. That's what you're trying to do with your spot treating.
That's what this idiot named Luke Smith did here, and I will show you. I wrote an article. Now this ranks on Google as well, so it's not just that I hid it away on the internet. This is like, if you look up bow and arrow mistakes, this will be one article that comes up.
Was there somebody like with a bow and arrow and I like actually trying to get someone?
No, it's a herbicide bow and arrow.
Yeah.
Let me zoom in on this for you. Some idiot, that was definitely me. Yeah. That was a pristine green lawn. And anyways, what happened there? That's one of our clients, and I immediately apologized. But we all make mistakes. What happened there was I mixed up it had bow and arrow. Well, it wasn't actually bow and arrow. It was one of the products that's exactly the same active ingredients. Yeah. And I put some a sticker in it, which for those who don't know, it helps it stay to the weed, but it also in practice it's almost like making you apply almost more herbicide to the plant because it spreads out the how would you describe it? The droplet.
Yeah, the droplet size you get better coverage on your target, on your weed. So then it's got more points, more points of where the herbicide is going to contact the actual weed.
So it's almost like, when you've got a sticker, the last thing you want to, but you don't want to drown it anyway, but the last thing you want to do is drown it when you've already got a sticker in there as well.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I did that, and then I realized that I had a cone nozzle on. I was using someone else's, like someone in our business, but it wasn't the one I was using. And I didn't want to mist it too much because I didn't want it just to float away, right? So I opened it up too much. That was worse. And I've just drowned all these weeds. Anyway, if you're watching on there, and if you would like to learn how to avoid this mistake, I've written all about it.
Yeah. So you can use a cone nozzle, but yes, you've got to be very, very wary of because of the way it sprays. It's like with a fan nozzle, so just pass over and you get a nice even spray coverage. Where the cone nozzle, it's not that even. And I've done that before. I think everyone's done that. So it's not something, anyone listening, don't be embarrassed. Everyone's, burnt a heap of turf. As it is, it's like going, as the now retired superintendent at New South Wales Golf Club said to me, going, if you haven't killed turf, you're not a greenkeeper. That's the thing. So so I have killed some type of turf, should I say?
I would say it did recover in like a week. Right, that section. I'll show you this on the same article in here. You can see this if you're watching on YouTube, people. We didn't do this, okay? But this is a client. If you're watching on this, so if you're listening, you can't see. What happened was there was somebody. I was driving down the street one day and I saw this lawn. That was a buffalo lawn, and it had all these dead squiggly lines through it. And this is a classic mistake. the customer didn't write on their sprayer which one was a broadleaf spray and which one was glyphosate. And anyways, we've got it on there. It took 6 months later. Now, this was in winter. So this was like a May, June when we came across. And buffalo, you can see how it's already lost its color at the bottom of the photo there. Anyways, it took about 9 months to properly, fully fill in. Anyways, that was... Do you get that? Like, I mean, I know I'm still talking about our mistakes that we make, but are those types of mistakes common where people think they're applying one product and lo and behold, it's not the one that they thought it was?
Yeah, I think it does happen. Like, we don't get sort of people calling in regards to that, but it has happened where it's like someone's been putting this on, and like, you know, one of the things it's happened in the commercial side as well on golf course and like that, putting the wrong product on. It's just one of those things. Just check. And if you do have, having a separate sprayer for glyphosate is it's one of the smartest things you can do. And you're right on there. Roundup only, glyphosate only. And that's it. And then use other, and even for, other ones for herbicide only. And especially if you are using for the garden and for the lawn, have a separate sprayer for the garden, because a lot of the stuff you use on turf, on your lawn, if that gets on the garden, you're going to probably kill it a lot of the same time. So it doesn't hurt to invest in multiple sprays and label them correctly. And make sure you wash them out when you finish as well. That's the other thing.
Yeah. That doesn't happen a whole lot. I can tell you that.
No, wash them out and make sure that at the end of the hose, all the nozzles cleaned out and everything like that. So at least a bunch. Like, I'd love to say use a tank cleaner, but obviously that doesn't tend to probably get used much. But at least wash it out with water and let the water just pump out of there. Put another couple of liters in there and just pump the water out. At least do that.
One of the things that we do, because we started off using different brands of sprayers. So we had a Sylvan for a certain product, and then we had like a Swissmex, I think, for a different one. Anyways, the brands are not relevant. But what we've ended up moving to, because if something breaks, you want the same sort of spare parts, And so what I did, and this might be helpful for people out there who are other contractors, or they don't want to scribble on Sharpie on their thing, is you can get some really good quality spray paint and paint the lid if you just scratch it up. And I've had it where what we do is we get the colored gaffer tape and put a ring around several spots on the wand and the handle, and then the same color on the lid. And so for us, the black one with no tape, which is how it comes standard, that's the glyphosate. And then the red one with the red tape on the handle, that's the selective herbicides. And then you get different ones. And then you just know. And you can just look at it from a distance, bam, that's the one. And we won't mix between those things. So you might have, like in the red one, we're happy to put like a bromoxynil MCPA, and we'll put like equivalent of bow and arrow, and we might put a Lonro, which is a group B herbicide for onion grass that we can talk about later. So you put those sorts of products in there, and you know that if you've accidentally mixed up which sprayer's got which and you apply the wrong product, it's still safe on the turf varieties that you're applying it to. You'll just have to come back and apply the correct product if you got that mistake. And I don't think we've ever really had that mistake either, but it's just covering your backside with that. What do you think, Nadeem, is the most underrated product for lawn and garden care? Some get too much hype. Which ones aren't getting enough hype?
Probably a few different things. Your mower. That's a product.
That's a good answer.
Your mower. One of the things is mowing and watering. Like, you want to have a decent lawn, start with mowing regularly. And I don't mean once every couple of weeks. I think there was a podcast that you had with, was it with Travis up at Bundaberg? And the likes like that, where, like, I was surprised you were saying, people go in every 2 weeks to cut their lawns up. They go, huh? It's Queensland. I've been to Bundaberg. I know the climate up there you should be cutting every twice a week, realistically. I'm thinking every 2 weeks. So mowing regularly, that will give your health to lawn, because it's always that 1/3 rule. You don't want to cut off more than 1/3 of what it is. But if you can do that regularly, Obviously in winter, if you get, depends on when you're listening to this, if you're dormant, turf, obviously not going to happen. But in the growing season where you're getting rapid growth, once a week minimum, if not twice a week. And if you've got a cylinder mower and you're really passionate, you're pretty much nearly out there every 1 to 2 days anyway. And then watering, put the water on. It's one of those things going that people go, one of the things I do see online is like going, water in the morning, don't water in the evening because it increases disease. Thing is going, if you can't water in the morning, you're trying to get ready, trying to get kids ready, those type of things. You can't get water in the morning, don't have obviously an automatic system to do it. Water at night, water in the afternoon. If the lawn is looking that it's drying out in the afternoon, don't wait until the morning. Do it then. Like, you don't need a huge amount, but, if you want to save it, you want to save your lawn, don't be afraid to. Like the turf guys with the golf courses, like, they'll do everything their prep. They'll have an afternoon crew, or the superintendent will come back in the afternoon, or someone will, and check on the greens. And if there's anything that looks like a bit of a hot spot, they'll get out there, they'll get out the hose, and they'll hand water those areas. So don't be afraid to do that, because otherwise it's like going, you start waiting 12, 24 hours, the lawn's going to die. It's like with armyworm, we see it all the time. I've been guilty of it. It's a great growth regulator to then oversow with ryegrass. A couple of years ago, got smashed with armyworm. I went away. I thought I had a phyto effect from some tribute and some Lonro. I thought, I applied everything right. And then I went away for work, came back going, no, that ain't herbicide burn. I've just do the little soapy test as everyone does. Great, I got armyworm. So, but the great thing was going, I killed off the armyworm, then oversowed with ryegrass. So for the winter,
got some good stripes.
I had the best lawn. I was cutting. I had to cut like realistically twice a week to keep up with the ryegrass growth.
One of the things that we like to do here on the Australian Lawn and Garden Podcast is to support small businesses, because I think small businesses are underrated. And instead of this being an industry that's all competitive and cutthroat and with stabbing each other's in the back, I would love to have each other's back and to be supportive and to support the businesses that are doing great work. And so what we do every single episode, we give away a free ad space for a small business that's doing great work. This week's episode, we're sponsoring for free Valley Lawn Care, based out of Illawarra in New South Wales. This is a business who's just trying to get off the ground, and they specialize in turf laying, lawn maintenance, lawn renovation, and they even sell some products on the website. They're a reseller for lawn solutions and new turf. Now, I've seen some of their photos. I'm going to put them up on here. It looks like it's some pretty decent work. Their social media is Valley Lawn Care 93. Facebook, that's Instagram. Facebook is Valley Lawn Care. And the website is valleylawncare.com.au. I'll put that on the screen right now. If you want to go give them some love, go give them some love. Send them a message and support them. If you're in the area, send some work that way. If you're looking for some subcontracting or somebody to help out, get in contact. And if you're not in the area, jump on the socials and just give them some encouragement, because I think that's the sort of thing that would make people's day. All right, if you want to be part of this in the next podcast, you can send me. We've got a few lists of people who are on the list for small businesses to be sponsored. But if you want to be involved, just send me a message and I'll chuck you on the list. Let's get back to the pod. All right, Nadeem, let's talk about some of your products. We've only got a few minutes left of your time, and we were chin-wagging about all sorts of things, but let's get into the technical sides.
Yep.
One of the things I'm really interested, there's two products I really want to talk about. The first is Lonro, because this has been a product that has just come to you guys recently. How long have you had this product on the market for?
Lonro only now, what are we in May? We've only had it probably September last year. We're finally able to, we got registration sort of a few months before, but September last year we got it.
And so one of the things that about that is, which is really cool, there used to be a product called, what was it called? Destiny, right?
Yes.
And it was insanely expensive and out of reach for most people, most contractors, but it was basically the only option for onion grass and a few other things. You guys have now brought this product to market, and it's at a much more affordable price point. What are we talking about with Destiny price point wise, and what's this one?
So Destiny's a great product. Obviously, if people know about it, both the ones who registered, it is a great product, and I always liked it because it had the onion weed control, but had the turf safety as well. So it was safe on Kaiku, and not many of that resistance grouping is safe on Kaiku, safe on Buffalo as well. So they're the two big advantages of it. And lights like that. So but it was in like you had to buy 250 gram and it was in 50-gram satchels, so you could easy to measure out. But the pricing got up and up and up. Like it is quite expensive. But I think now you have to fork out over $500 for a 250-gram. So
I think it was 600. It was 600 and something. I remember back in the day looking at it over. I mean, that might have just been the person I was looking at it off here in WA. But it was like 640 or something. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, I can't remember. Yeah, it's well over 500 now for 250 grams. And then so we brought out Lonhro in a 100-gram jar, and it retails $200 for the 100-gram jar. The other thing we've got is now when we first launched, we didn't have it, but now we've got little 1-gram scoops. So if anyone on here by chance they bought Lonhro and they want a little scoop, I'm more than happy to put it in the mail for them. Just get in touch with me. Details on our website, but we'll have it anyway.
Well, people, like, if you are not professional, I'm a licensed what do you call it? Spray technician. And when you have these powders, they are very, like, because people hear 100 grams, $200. Oh my goodness. That's like a hectare that covers, right?
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
or maybe even a little bit more. Yeah, exactly.
It'll cover, like if you're going for just general broadleaf weeds, it'll cover 2 hectares. If you're covering, if you want to go for power control as well, you're just doing 1 1/4 hectares. So it covers a big area, but per square meter, it's actually quite cheap.
No, it is 100%. It's like buying. It'd be the equivalent of buying maybe a 10-liter like broadleaf. Maybe not quite 10 liters, but it's it sounds like it's a small amount, but you use tiny bits. Yeah. This is where the spoon. I wish I had the spoon back in my day, because you have to buy scales, and your bloody kitchen scales you get at Coles are not sensitive enough for really light herbicides. So you'll go do the maths, and it'll be like, I need 1.5 grams, and you're like, well, I've got 1 or 2. Like you can only do 1 gram increments, and sometimes it jumps from 0 to 2 grams, and it's freaking annoying.
Really That's it, yeah. The other advantage of the Lonhro, like Destiny, is a great formulation, and it does disperse well, dissolves really well. Ours will take a little bit longer to dissolve, but that's because it's got a bigger granular. And to be honest, I look at that as it's not a disadvantage, it's actually an advantage, because then you've got to obviously put more in. They're a lighter granular. You've got to put more in the actual tank, but then you can measure out a little bit easier. So if you do have scales, you got that advantage. But with our spoon, that'll get rid of it. You've got like a little half marking as well, so you can just go. I say to guys, 1 gram, 1 to 1.5, spoonfuls in 5 liters of water across 100 square meters, and that's what you need. And stick it with there as well. That is essential, especially for that mode of action. Like you'll see on the label, it's got Group 2 herbicide or Group B herbicide. Those definitely need a sticker to put on there. The other one is the halosulfuron. Sempra, Kempra, Tempra, Wempra, all the Pempra, all of those. Definitely put a sticker in there with it, because those herbicides, they don't tend to spread and stick very well, but that's why you need it. And a lot of the weeds that you're going for anyway, especially like nutgrass with Tempra, Kemper, and Sempra, you do need it to stick on there. Otherwise, you'll see it. You'll see the spray drops just keep on going, just drop. That's the thing. They won't stay on there. They need a decent sticker to help.
And with onion grass, I mean, here in WA, that's what most people would be buying it for. I mean, you guys have different weeds over the other side, but because it's so thin and skinny, you need all the help you can get to get that product down.
Exactly.
Another thing,
but just let me be patient with the onion grass, because with Lonhro, you put it on, you don't tend to see it die after a week. Oh, do I have to reapply? Don't reapply. It'll take anywhere from 30 days to 60 days to die, but it will. But it will. So obviously, if you're going with that low rate, if you're going for the broadleaf rate, don't need to, it'll cover a heap of other weeds. But that onion weed, just give it time. Give it time and don't reapply.
So that's a great product. I'm glad you got the scoop in there. And I think there's a lot of people who maybe aren't up to date that this product is out. And so they know that there was a Destiny option. And maybe they're a small-time contractor, or like I used to be, they work at a single location. And so it is not cost-effective to spend $500 or $600 on a product to cover 200 square meters. But now, and paying a contractor as well, it's, so this is a great option. One of the things that really annoys me, Nadeem, is you have this product called Stature, right?
Yep.
And it's not the product that annoys me. What annoys me is it seemed like it was going to answer all my questions, and I'm not sure if I can use it. And let me give some background. There's if you're really nerdy like me and you look into active ingredients, you will find that there's this ingredient called MCPA. It's really common on a lot of broadleaf herbicides, and Stature is a broadleaf herbicide. And there's another one called bromoxynil, which is really common. And both of those, what's great about them is you can use them on buffalo. In WA, buffalo is so common. There's another herbicide called diflufenicin, which is all these three different things, different modes of action, which helps with weed resistance. Now, I use this product, which is great. We can't use it on the residential scene, or there's a great area as to why we can use it on the residential scene. I'm sure that really annoys you because you probably get some more sales from that, eh?
It does. It's one of those things going, and it wasn't anything to do with us. It was the APVMA. When you register something, you put your proposal in, you put your label in and everything like that, and then they'll go, yep, done, but we don't want it to be used on home lawns, so have to have, do not use in the home garden. And that is one thing I will say. I've had fights online in regards to that. If it says do not use in home garden, do not use on home lawns, same thing, nothing different. They are the same. Home garden is home lawns, is residential. So when it says that, it's like going, yeah. So unfortunately with Stature, you can't use it. Use it in the commercial side of things, but not the home lawn, the home garden side of things. And it's just, I think the APVMA have been looking, tightening the rules. And with the APVMA, they're the ones, if no one knows, that's where we register all our chemicals. So they're like the TGA with pharmaceuticals, medicine, except this is just obviously for chemicals for anywhere from anything in agriculture, horticulture, turf, and veterinary chemicals. So like your Advocate, Revolution, Brevecto, those type of things as well. They register all of them. So they've got to assess, obviously it works, but they also got to assess the safety, the toxicology of it, the environmental side of it as well. So as the older chemistry, like you've got a lot of old chemistries out there, like, your bin dye has been used for years and still use it. But as goes on, they're not tend to be restricting older chemicals. That might happen. Things like that do happen, but the newer chemicals, they'll tend to restrict on how much you can use, where you can use it, put on buffer zones. It's all in regards to safety for the user and safety for the environment. So there's more and more of that coming into it. And Stature being a Schedule 6 poison, it says poison heading, not caution, like say bow and arrow is, that would have contributed as well. Like we've got our power checker that says poison on there. Still be used in home lawns, no problem, or wintergrass killer. No problems there. But sometimes if we go register those products, say now, that would end up changing if we never had them and try to do it now.
You're being very diplomatical and professional. So I'll be the controversial one on your behalf, because I'm just going to say what I think. These products, they're all used like every single day on home lawns. These active ingredients I'm talking about. Stature is essentially, for those who don't know, it's like a bin dye mixed with basically half of bow and arrow, and so you get the best of all of them together, and that's what I want to try. I do have commercial people, so we might buy it and try it on some commercial places.
It is something, and it could be something that we look to investigate with the APVMA, because we can update labels and change them. Like we had our fungicide Emerald. It flowers and NAMZ active. Initially, you could only use it on golf, and because everything else was 5-day re-entry period. We got that changed, and it became no re-entry period for anything except, but you still can't use it on home lawns. But you can use it everywhere else. Like it was like if you used it on Bowling Green, you'd have to wait 5 days to be able for anyone to get on the Bowling Green. So there was the only thing they said going, the supporting data that we had was out of the US and it was on golf courses. They saw the label there. It's only used on golf. So they go, no, it's only golf. Anything non-golf, 5 days. However, we ended up arguing and doing a bit more data to be able to show, no, we don't need that. So now it's going to be used on any sort of commercial turf surface. But still not home lawns, unfortunately.
Well, I'm going to give you a challenge because you've got to go soon. And you know what? We might have to get you back to talk a little bit more about this in a few months' time.
Yeah, I'm enjoying this. I'd love to. Unfortunately, I do. It's getting sort of the late afternoon in Sydney here, my time where I am. So yeah,
my kids are probably waking up for their naps as well. So you know we've both got challenges coming our way. But one of your flagship products, and I think it's really cool. I've never used it. Again, this is not really for the residential scene, and to be honest, it's not even targeted to that because it's not like the other products where it could be used. you've got a product called Poa Cure. Now, for those who don't know, Poa is winter grass, and winter grass is one of the hardest things to manage in turf. And for a long time, people have struggled with that. This product, some of the photos I've seen, it's crazy. So tell me in 25 words or less. No, we've got about 3 or 4 minutes before we absolutely have to leave. But what is Poa Cure? And for those who are turf managers listening to this, you may be able to solve some of their problems. So give it a bit of a wrap.
So Poa Cure is a very unique chemistry. It came out of a rice herbicide. They were looking for weed control in rice. And the person who invented it goes, there's a use for this in turf. He was American educator and the likes like that. So the company he's working for, he took the product from them, had an agreement, the likes like that. This was out of Korea that it was invented. Developed the product for turf. He and another partner in the business, and the company is known as Mogu Research. It's a Korean company, and they started doing work on golf courses, knowing the issue with wintergrass with Poa. One of the things I will say, the guys listening over to WA, you guys have the biggest herbicide resistance issue pretty much nearly in the world. Work that's been done in the broadacre lot, in the agriculture side, is groundbreaking there in terms of herbicide resistance. In terms of weeds, ryegrass has the biggest resistance worldwide. Then I can't remember the other one. I think it's I can't remember the other weed, but wintergrass now is up there. There's about 12 different modes of actions it is resistant to. So when I say modes of actions, think of it like we talk about antibiotics with medicines and the likes that they develop resistance. Chemicals that we have for turf are the same, especially with herbicides. And wintergrass is that resilient that, and this is a true story. There is wintergrass in Antarctica. It can grow. It can grow there, and it can grow on the equator. It can grow in hot areas as well. So that's the other thing. But
and it grows in my gutters as well right now.
It's everywhere. I've got, actually, I will send it to you afterwards, a great little side that I've got in regards to wintergrass. But what it is, Poa Cure, so it's a brand new mode of action. Methylazoline is the active ingredient for the guys who sort of know in regards to that. But its claim to fame was that it works on all different types of Poa, because you get the different types of wintergrass out there, perennial and annual one. But it is slow working. So the big advantage of that for your golf greens is that you've got a golf green that's got, say, 20, 30% Poa or even more. If you kill that all at once, you're not going to have a surface to be able to putt on. Poa Cure allows a very slow kill. So what it does is like the Poa starts dying very slowly, but the bent grass just takes over. So your surface stays consistent. That was the big thing. But it also works a long time. It is multiple applications, but you need anywhere from 2 to 4 applications minimum, depending on the rate. And then it's over a longer period of time that'll get the full control. And, say, for instance, that where some golf courses where we've had 80% Poa greens, they all used to be bent grass, we've converted them back within 2 years back to 100% bent grass greens. That's so rather than if a golf course went in and decided to rebuild, it's not cheap product, but it's a much cheaper option than rebuilding a golf course. And then also the guys on sports fields and the likes, cricket wickets, there's been starting a bit of a use on that one because they're just not getting control with anything. We did a trial down in Melbourne on a school, at a private school. He had sprayed everything. He'd done the cricket wicket Poa Cure, cleaned it up brilliantly. The rest of his oval, the only thing that worked to kill Poa was the was a Poa check. But then it came back. It's like, everything. He played out Tribute, Destiny, didn't produce long run, but Monument and Coliseum, Curb, but had no results.
But most of those ones that you've just said, they're Group B herbicides. And that's what a lot of people use. And most people in the pre-emergence are using Group D. And so if they're the only ones that you use, it doesn't really matter if you've got a different brand or a different, slightly different active ingredient. If it's the same group, this is the only one, as I'm aware, that does it in this group. Is that right?
Yes, exactly. Yes, it is the only one in this group. Yeah, it's the only one for turf. There is now another chemical in that group, but it's a very different weed spectrum in the agriculture side. Very different.
Look, we've got to wrap this up because you've got to go. And look, we've had too much fun. We were having too good of a chinwag early on. I would like to talk about this stuff a bit more and get into some nerdy stuff. Look, thanks for coming on, mate.
No, my pleasure.
How do people find you and get in contact with you if they want to buy some of the products or they just want some advice or good chinwag themselves?
Yeah, so obviously we've got through our distributor, we sell our products, but All our details are on the website. You can go to contact us, campbellchemicals.com.au. All my details are there. We are on Facebook and Twitter, on Instagram a bit, but mostly Facebook and Twitter for social media. But definitely look at the website. My email's on there and my phone number's on there. Please give me a call. More than happy to have a chat. And if I don't answer the phone, I definitely will call you back. I'll call you back as soon as I can.
All right, mate. Well, look, we'll post some stuff down on our Facebook and things like that for me to get contacted or to get into contact. Thank you for coming on, mate. We'll see you again soon.
Great. Thank you, Luke. Appreciate it. Thanks, everyone, for listening.